Hi everyone, my name is Sydney Vickers, and today I'm going to share an overview of my signature project, which focuses on the impact of goal setting and self-monitoring on academic motivation. So the idea for this project and purpose was to address low academic motivation, improve engagement in independent writing and extended writing, and to test whether goal setting and self-monitoring increase persistent achievement. This idea grew out of things that I see daily in my fourth grade classroom, such as students drifting off task, becoming distracted, losing stamina, and not completing tasks or assignments fully. My goal through this project is to build a structured plan that would help students take more ownership and hopefully to stay engaged longer. So the identified problem is that students have low motivation during independent literacy tasks. Many of my students struggle to stay focused during reading and writing. They start working, they stop, they get distracted, and often they do not even finish assignments. The question that I'm using to guide the project is, if I teach students how to set clear goals, track their own progress, then will they show more motivation and better task completion? My hypothesis is that students who use structured goal setting and self-monitoring will show higher motivation and task completion. So to better understand the problem, and my original data came from existing AR data from my classroom. At the time when I gathered data, 64% of my students were not on track to meet their AR goal, while 36% were on track. So this shows that AR progress, which relies heavily on consistent reading and student initiative, many students are not engaging with reading in the way that they should be, and this baseline data served as a good starting point for my intervention, and I can compare it to results after the study. So for background information, I use the goal setting theory by Locke and Latham that shows that students respond better when they have specific, meaningful goals. The self-regulated theory by Zimmerman and Schunk suggests that students who monitor their progress are more accountable, more persistent, and more confident. Studies from also show that when teachers build these routines into daily literacy, then students' task completion and engagement often goes up. All of the things that I found in the literacy supports the idea that goal setting and monitoring could be helpful for my students. The purpose of my action plan, the overall purpose is to give students the tools they need to stay motivated and take more responsibility for their learning and reading. And in this intervention, I'm aiming to help them maintain their focus, build stamina, increase reading and writing outcomes, and embed these realistic strategies into daily routines for literacy success now and forever for my students. This project uses simple routines that fit right into our everyday literacy block, so it should feel natural to students and is manageable for them and me. So for the sample and sampling method, this sample would include 49 fourth grade students, and I'll use natural and tech classes to divide them into an experimental group and a control group. So the experimental group would practice the goal setting and self-monitoring routines each day, while the control group would complete the same literacy assignments, but they would not have the structured routines and goal setting. I chose convenient sampling because it keeps instruction uninterrupted and keeps the environment as true to a real classroom condition as possible. To measure the effectiveness of the intervention, I'll be using several data sources. So these include motivation surveys before and after the intervention, continuing to look at AR goal progress and reading point, and the monthly reading logs that students are expected to complete and turn in writing products, and then I'll do a few, about 2 to 3 a week, of teacher observation. Each of these tools will allow me to get a more well-rounded picture of how students respond. Things such as Accelerated Reader and AimsWeb provides consistent, reliable literacy data, and the surveys I'm using are based on validated engagement scales. Once the intervention is complete, I'll be able to compare the pre and post surveys and look for changes. So the intervention will take place over 10 weeks. Week 0 will focus on teaching the experimental group how to set goals, set SMART goals, and how to monitor themselves. I'll also give the motivation pre-survey at this time. So during weeks 1 through 8, students will follow the daily routine by starting the literacy block by setting a clear reading or writing goal. These could be things such as, I will read 10 pages today, I will write 1 paragraph today. And then while they're working, they'll use timers and tracking tools to monitor their progress. This could be a timer on the board, a timer at their desk. And then at the end, they will reflect and check in on what they were able to complete and if they met their goal. At the end, after they have reflected themselves, they will receive short, simple feedback from me. And then I'll also incorporate small rewards that are already a part of our positive reinforcement system in the classroom to congratulate students who consistently meet their goals. Meanwhile, the control group will do the same reading and writing task, but they will not use the goal setting structure. Week 9, there will be a post survey. I'll review the AR data and I'll look at the writing samples that I collected. And this is where I'll analyze any changes that may have occurred and compare results between the two groups. As I plan this project, I'm also thinking about the validity of the study. So for internal validity threats, this could be things such as student absences, inconsistency in the feedback I provide to students just because of time constraints and other things that could impact the literacy block. And then also school-wide AR expectations, because this is something that takes place across the whole school. Both groups could have a sense of motivation of meeting their AR goal. So to help control for these, I'll use the same instructional materials and schedule for both groups, and I will keep all collected data de-identified. In terms of external validity, this project is unique to my school and my grade level and my classes, so results may not fully apply to other settings, but the routines themselves, such as goal setting, self-monitoring, and feedback, are widely used strategies, so they could be adapted into many classrooms. So the expected result is to see several positive outcomes in the experimental group. I would anticipate to see higher motivation scores on the post survey than the pre, more students meeting or getting closer to meeting their AR goals, a stronger writing stamina and more completed assignment, and then more consistent on-track behavior during literacy block. In terms of measurable improvement, I would like to see at least 60% of students meeting their AR goals, which would be a big improvement from the original 36%. And I'd also expect an increase in motivation survey results. So as I reflect, there are a few things that I'm considering that I would like to change. A few include adding a technology-based tracker so that students can see their progress visually. I think that would increase their engagement even more. And I'd also like to stretch the intervention across a full semester instead of just a 9-week period. I think a longer time frame could produce stronger habits and more solid data. I might also build in more regular student-teacher conferences and even something like a peer accountability partnership so that students have more opportunities to talk through their progress. I'd also like to see how, if I separated the experimental group into struggling readers and then students who are reading on grade level, and see how these strategies could help those groups specifically, and also how I would like to see how similar strategies could be used in other subjects like math or science. So to wrap everything up, this project is something I'm really excited that I could implement because it addresses a real challenge that I'm seeing in fourth grade literacy, to keep students more motivated, focused, and confident during independent reading and writing. The research strongly supports the use of goal setting and self-monitoring as practical, effective strategies, and I'm hopeful that this intervention could lead to increased achievement and stronger literacy habits in my classroom. Thank you so much for listening, and here are my references.